That is the central, painful question that keeps policymakers and development experts up at night. Given the immense persistent problems of war, poor education, and unstable politics, can Africa realistically generate the investment and human capital required to seize the AI opportunity? The candid answer is, not at the current pace, using current methods, and relying solely on internal resources. However, the consensus is that it must try because the cost of not investing is greater than the cost of trying. The solution requires a radical shift in strategy and a massive global partnership. 1. The investment gap, a matter of scale. The investment required for foundational AI infrastructure, data centers, stable power, and fiber optic cables is measured in tens of billions of dollars, a scale most African countries cannot finance alone while simultaneously fighting wars and managing health crises. Challenge: why the current pace fails. Required shift. Competing priorities. Budgets are dominated by emergency needs, war, famine, debt servicing. AI is seen as a long-term luxury, not a short-term necessity. Treat AI infrastructure as national security. Investment must be framed as essential for future sovereignty and resilience, attracting sovereign wealth funds and large development banks, World Bank, AFDB, to de-risk projects. Private investment risk. War and political instability increase the risk premium for investors. No private company will build data centers where there is a high chance of conflict damage or expropriation. De-risking through partnerships. Governments must offer strong legal and regulatory certainty, and global partners must provide blended finance, a mix of public grants and private capital, to shield investors from high initial risks. Lack of energy. Data centers and high-speed fiber require reliable, clean, and cheap power, a resource scarce across much of the continent. Leapfrogging to renewables. Prioritize investment in decentralized solar and geothermal grids, solving the power crisis and the AI challenge simultaneously, rather than waiting for massive national grid upgrades. 2. The human training gap, the talent exodus. The human capital challenge is complicated by low education standards, brain drain, and the lack of funding for advanced research. Poor foundational education. A weak primary and secondary education system fails to produce students with the necessary math, science, and critical thinking skills needed for AI. Brain drain. The few highly skilled AI graduates are quickly poached by foreign companies, or their local subsidiaries, that offer exponentially higher salaries, crippling local research efforts. Political resistance. Curricula and educational policy change slowly, often lagging far behind technological advancements. The required shift. Instead of trying to catch up with foreign universities, Africa must focus on hyper-efficient, targeted training, boot camps, and centers of excellence. Focus on highly selective, internationally competitive regional centers, like the African Masters of Machine Intelligence, AMMI, to create elite AI talent, and then use targeted technical boot camps to quickly train a middle layer of data analysts and cloud engineers. Diaspora engagement. Create strong incentives, tax breaks, research grants, to encourage the African technology diaspora working in Silicon Valley, London, and Beijing to contribute to local projects remotely or return home temporarily. 3. The political and governance challenge. This is perhaps the biggest impediment. Conflict and poor governance actively destroy the infrastructure and trust required for a digital economy. War and famine. War destroys schools, cuts off fiber lines, and prevents predictable governance, making any long-term tech investment impossible in conflict zones. Corruption. Corruption diverts crucial funds intended for infrastructure and education into private hands, ensuring that public tech projects fail or remain incomplete. Regulatory uncertainty. Unstable or unpredictable politics deter companies from making long-term commitments. The required shift. Leveraging AI for governance. The solution is not to wait for perfect governance, but to use AI and digital tools to improve governance now. Data-driven policy. Implement AI tools for revenue collection, supply chain monitoring, and fraud detection. This can simultaneously reduce corruption by making processes transparent and increase the tax base to fund education and infrastructure. Regional integration. African nations cannot succeed alone. The African Union and regional bodies, ECOWAS, SADC, must accelerate the creation of harmonized digital trade and data policies to create a large, unified African digital market that is attractive to global investment. In conclusion, for Africa to cope, it needs to stop viewing AI as a standalone technological project and start seeing it as the central pillar of its economic sovereignty and anti-corruption strategy. This will unlock the necessary domestic political will and attract the large-scale international support needed to close the gap.